If this is the first time seeing my face, my name is Brandon, also known as Sunua, and the reason I'm making this video is there's been a lot of people trying to give their opinion on who they think I am, so instead of thinking who I am, I'm going to tell you exactly who I am. I've made a My Story video in the past, but recently I've been going viral, so this is a revised one because a lot of things have changed since then. Right now we're going to make a coffee to start off with because it's 8 PM, or the time is actually 19:22. And we need a coffee. So this is going to be a one take, this is going to be raw, because I just want to tell you guys exactly who I am and where I've come from. And I was born in South London. I was born and raised in South London, Brixton to be precise, and I'm just going to basically cut in some major points in my life which have made an impact, where the reason I want to share this is because with my story, I want to speak to those who might feel like they are in that same position, or they might feel like they can't come out of it. So I want you to listen to this. So if you guys don't already know, my dad's Chinese and my mother's Colombian, and that's one of the first videos that I ever made, and that's one of the first videos that ever went viral. And with that being said, when I was roughly around 11 years old, I had to move into my dad's Chinese takeaway. So when we moved into my dad's Chinese takeaway, at the time I didn't really understand what was going on, but due to financial situations, we had to make that decision. Well, my parents made that decision because it was the best decision to make at the time, and I had to live underneath the Chinese takeaway. And during that time, that's when I got into secondary school, and that's when there's a lot of pressure, because now people start judging you. Now you have to sort of meet a certain standard. It's the typical times where I would buy just any school for shoes, but if you weren't wearing kickers or if you weren't wearing wallabies, you were to be made fun of, and wallabies are just these type of shoes. Anyway, I remember at the time I had to live at this Chinese takeaway. And I was so embarrassed at the time, I was so self-conscious at the time, that I remember that I would try to leave super early, or I would leave late to make sure no one would see me as I left this Chinese takeaway. Because I remember I lived underneath the Chinese takeaway, right? So to go out to the main road, there was like a sweet shop right in front. And in front of this sweet shop, that's where all the kids in the morning used to go to buy like their drinks or buy their sweets before they went off to school. And there was like another school very near me. So I was embarrassed because I didn't want to be known as, oh, that's the Chinese kid that lives in the Chinese restaurant. And ever since I posted my first My Story video, I didn't know that there was so many people that were living in this same situation. And if you're Asian, you can most likely relate. And the reason I post this again is because many times I thought I was alone, and I thought I was the only one that could ever go through a situation like this. Then I realized that there are so many of us, and I'm doing this for you to realize that you are not alone. And I remember I would either leave super early, get 40 minutes early to school, or I would leave late to make sure that none of the kids saw me, because I was embarrassed. And all I would ever want to do was to fit in. So I changed the way that I would talk, I changed the way that I would dress. Like, I just wanted to feel accepted, because I didn't accept myself, and I was just very self-conscious. I was very insecure, and I just wanted to feel like I was part of something. And also just being raised mixed. If you're mixed, you would also understand the differences between cultures. And at the time, I went to a mixed school, and being raised in London, I think it did have a big impact, and it did help a lot, because London is very diverse and very multicultural. So living in London did make a difference. But whenever I'd see, for example, with the Asians or the Jamaicans with the Jamaicans, like, I didn't really feel like I was part of the Latinos, because I didn't feel too Latino, and I didn't feel like I was part of the Asians because I didn't feel fully Asian. So I was like too Latino to be Asian and too Asian to be Latino. Anyway, skipping past now, when I'm like 15, 16, this is when I was still living at the Chinese takeaway. I'm now entering college, and I get my first job. So I get my first job as a sales assistant in Hamleys. If you're from London, you know where Hamleys is. Hamleys is basically like this toy store, and I was a toy demonstrator. So that was my first ever job, in between there and the Science Museum. And this is bringing back so many memories. So I remember just working in Hamleys as a toy demonstrator. And working as a toy demonstrator, it was one of the, at the time it felt good, because now I was making my own money, and now I would buy shoes, because at that time, my parents gave me everything that I wanted. I am so grateful for everything that my parents did for me. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I didn't have a roof on my head. I had a roof on my head. I had clothes, I had food. I never suffered from these things. So one thing but I did want at that time is all the kids, for example, had so many different pair of trainers. Latino parents, if you're a Latino, you know, like, being a kid, you just want to be like everyone else, and everyone was buying like £200 trainers. And for my mum at the time, she would think like, what's the point of buying £200 trainers? And for myself too, but just to fit in, you would want to make these sacrifices. So I remember when I started making my own money, I started buying my own trainers. So I remember I stacked up and bought like a lot of trainers from Size at the time on sale. So I bought so many of these different type of trainers. The point I was trying to make is, now I was working, and then at that time, it felt like a dream. Someone came into my dad's shop and they said, we're interested in buying the restaurant. And I couldn't believe it. I said, what's going on? And I said, Dad, stop. And I went to the back of the kitchen, because my dad was always at the back of the kitchen, and I went there, and I was always, when I was young, I'd grow up, I would be at the front counter, like attending customers. So I remember I went to the back and I told my dad, like, there's someone that wants to buy the Chinese takeaway. He said, what, really? So he went to the front, ended up speaking, it was a man. And anyway, they got into the process of speaking. Fast forward a few months now, everything's in motion, and the day comes that we're actually moving out, we've sold it. And I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe it. And we moved, so at this point, where did we go? We moved into my sister's flat. So we moved to my sister's flat at the time because my parents already had a house here in Spain, so they moved over here in Spain. So I'm gonna be here on my phone. Yeah, I'm still recording. So we moved over here, and at that time I had just entered college. Let me sit on the sofa actually. This is what I talk about raw, and this is one of the things about content creation. Being a Latino household, being a content creator is not the one. Let me tell you why, because Latinos be like, oh, why are you showing everyone your life? Why do they have to know everything about you? So, going back to the point, so we moved in with my sister at the time, and at that time, like any youngster from South London, being an ambitious person, I've always been very ambitious. The sort of escape route as a youngster in South London is either be a rapper, be an athlete, and back then, what did I like to do? I liked to play football, and I wasn't too bad at football. So I had these hopes of becoming a professional footballer. So at the time I went to like a football college that I wanted to play football in. And that was my dream. That's all I ever wanted to do. I wanted to be a footballer. And I had an option to either go to Spain with my parents or stay in London. And I decided to, you know what, let me stay in London. And I grew up in a very religious household, so I didn't have much freedom as, it was quite strict. My household was very strict. First of all, Latinos are strict. And anyway, just that being the sort of structure in my house, and from being sort of in a place where I couldn't do whatever I wanted because my mom had rules, we had this, which I'm very grateful for. Then I had absolute freedom, and from absolute freedom and not having any self-control, that's where more problems started to arise, because I started to play football, then I realized I wasn't going anywhere, I injured myself, and then from those injuries I ended up hanging out with bad associations. And I wouldn't say bad associations now, I would just say we were just as lost, because I would have been considered a bad association at the time. So I don't like to say, oh yeah, this person's a bad association, because at that time I would have been considered a bad association. We were just making silly choices, we were kids that we didn't have much things to do. So at that time, I entered into the world of just wanted to be cool. What was being cool at the time? It was like being a roadman, being cool, like smoking drugs, or like people were selling drugs, so like it was cool to sell drugs. So I pretended like I was one of those guys, and I was far from it. And I remember for some time, that was the life I was living. And from then I got a job in retail full-time, and I rented out a small little, oh no, I'm moving parts. Let me go back. So this is happening, I'm playing football, and now I'm with these friends just doing stupidness, and I get a job in retail. And the reason I'm saying this is because I remember I had this job in retail, and I lived with my sister for some time. I was just living on a sofa. I was living on the sofa for some time. This is when I just came back from Spain, because I came to Spain for like maybe a few months to try it out over here. Didn't work out, went back to London. I wanted to get my personal training qualification, so then I had to go to my sister's to stay on the sofa for some time. I stayed on the sofa, and I remember one time I started my course. And this is why I believe in God. I don't know if you believe in God, if you believe in a universe. I don't know what you believe in, but from when you believe in God and you believe in something else, there is no logic to certain things, because there's some things that you can't foresee coming in your path. I went to this college, and there was a guy that I met. His name was Rashan. And I wasn't very close with him, but he was part of my course, and he could see that I was slightly down. And he said to me, bro, what's the issue? And I said, bro, I need somewhere to stay. I'm looking for an apartment, I can't find anything, I don't have money, and like I'm just lost. And this is why I feel so indebted to him till this day. What he done was he grabbed his phone, he called his sister, and he said, I'm not gonna say her name just in case. He said, my boy needs somewhere to stay, can he stay in your apartment? And thinking it from a logical point of view, you would care for your own people rather than some stranger that you just met. So he put it on loudspeaker, he said, I need somewhere for him to stay. And she said, all right, charge him 400 a month. He said, no, that's too much. Bear in mind, he's carrying over my interest, which he didn't really know me, over his own sister. She said 300 a month. She said no. She said 250. He said, all right. I managed to find somewhere to stay thanks to him randomly for 250 a month in London, which makes no sense. And I stayed there for some time and I was so grateful. Anyway, I lived this cycle where I was just working, coming home, working, coming home, working, coming home. And I still had this ambitious feeling inside of me. I don't want the rest of my life to just be this. And I remember for some time, all I was doing was I was just smoking weed and drinking alcohol, getting drunk by myself. And one day I just prayed. I said, this can't be my life. This just can't be my life. I don't want to do this. The moment I stopped playing victim, then my life decided to change. One day I just burst out crying and I just started crying. I was like, I don't want to live this anymore. So I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, and I stopped associating myself with everyone. And what I did is I started going to the gym. So I just started going to the gym. And then I started to get in shape, because the way my mind was putting it is, I'm going to the gym, I'm only paying £25 a month to go to the gym. I think even those times I was using my nephew's code. And I'm paying £25 a month is a good excuse to not go out with friends, is a good excuse to not spend money. So it just made sense. So now I'm going to the gym daily, and I had a trip coming up with my parents to go to Colombia. And we go to Colombia. Actually, let me grab my coffee. He's still there. Yeah, so we go to Colombia now, and it really opened my eyes, this trip when I went to Colombia. And the reason it opened my eyes so much was because I realized that these people were happy. And why wasn't I? I on paper had everything, and they didn't have much. Yet they were happy. They could see the things that they had in front of them, and I couldn't. I was so focused on the tomorrow, and they were present in the today. So I said to myself, at that time, fast forward, I ended up renting out a studio. I'm working full-time in retail. And then I said, I'm going to downsize where I'm living, and I'm gonna get a job as a personal trainer because I got the qualification and I wasn't doing anything with it. And I'm gonna save money and I'm gonna move to Colombia. This was my plan. So now I come back to London, I downsize, I moved into this flat. And when I moved into this flat, there was like 4 other people in this shared flat. And the guy that lived in this flat was an absolute psycho. When I went there, he had tutorials on how to close the door. He said, you have to close the door very carefully. And whenever you close it just a bit too loud, he will come and put a note underneath your door and say that was too loud. And the other people there were in shock. It was just such a heavy environment. And I remember one time I used the kettle. I turned it to one side. So basically, I just put it on side, just face differently. He put a note underneath my door and he said, make sure that the kettle, the handle is facing against the sink. I was like, what is going on? What is actually going on? It got to a point where I was so depressed in this room that I got really sick. So my body started to flare up with, let me show you. So can you see this? So I ended up getting, it looked like I had, what's the word? Not eczema, chicken pox all over my body. I got it all over my neck, I got all over my belly, all over my arms, and I just got really sick because of the stress. And then to make things even worse, the pandemic happened. So now I was in a predicament. So I just finally got the job at a gym I wanted. So I got the job at the gym, and now my gym closed. I'm in this apartment with nowhere to go. So what am I doing? So what do I do? Then there was rumors at the time that there was gonna be like a lockdown where you couldn't fly out. So I said, you know what? Let me go to Spain and stay with my parents in a decent weather, and at least I'm not locked in this room. Done the move, bought my ticket last minute, and this is why I tell you guys, sometimes things will not make sense, but only looking back it will make sense. And I'm gonna tell you exactly why I mean that. Remember, just hold on to that thought. So now I book my flight to Spain. I just take a backpack. I leave all of my shit in this room. So I just take a backpack. Where's my coffee? Here. Is it still recording? I'm telling you guys, I'm raw with it. I want you guys to feel like you're here with me. So anyway, I come to Spain. I stay at my mom's house now. And everything is fine. At the time, my mind's processing it like it's the end of the world. So I just thought, you know what, it's the end of the world. I was just doing my press-ups, doing my weights. Fine. All of that happened. So then what happens? So now lockdown starts to ease off. And then I just had a sudden realization that I had left all of my friends, all of my family. Everything that I knew, I had just left it in London and switched it over day to the night. And it hit me. And I realized that, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And at the time I was probably like 23. I'm 28 now. And I decided, you know what, let me buy a dog. Just like that. I literally had an impulse buy of a dog, and I know a lot of you guys are gonna be like, oh, how can you buy a dog? It's not a product, it's not a thing. I know this, I'm aware of it. But back then, there's this thing called ignorance. And once you become aware of it, then there's nothing you can do. Like, I'm not gonna beat myself up. Why did I do that? Like, now I've understood, I've learned. You make mistakes and you learn, you just don't repeat them again. So anyway, I've always had this dream of buying a dog and having this dog. And my dreams when I got to Spain, I wanted an Alaskan Malamute. But anyway, I saw what was in the market, and at the time, the cheapest dog I saw was an American Staffordshire. That's how bad it was. So I went out, same morning, went on like the UK equivalent of Gumtree, found this woman that had a dog. It was mad shady. She met me, gave me the dog, gave her the money, came home. Then when I got home, I was just like, what the hell did I just do? I literally impulse bought a dog. Came home, my mom started crying. She's like, oh my days, like, what did you just do? And I still have this dog to this day for the people that have been asking. So I'm now with my dog in this house, and I'm just basically at this point now just going day by day. I'm literally not doing anything. At the time I had a few online clients, online personal training clients, and I wasn't doing much. I wasn't doing anything. I'm living in my mom's house. I'm basically living off my parents, just chilling. And then I had the biggest reality check as soon as I hit 25. 25 was the year that it went click. I'm 5 years away from 30. I have no financial stability. I'm not doing anything to get towards my goals. I am not doing anything with my life right now. And then I had like the biggest breakdown of my life. Then the thoughts of the past. What if I could have done this? What if I would have stayed in London? What about my friends? What about the life that I had? Everything and I felt useless. And at that point, it's so crazy to me how low our mind can take us, that I wasn't feeling suicidal, but I was okay with the thought of not being alive. I said to myself, I do not care if I wake up tomorrow or not. And it's crazy because at that time, I really believe that music has a big influence on you, because the reason we listen to music is to heighten an emotion. So when you listen to happy music, you feel happy. When you listen to sad music, you feel sad. So I used to listen to XXXTentacion like on repeat, so you can have the gist of how low I was. So I was like really low. And then I realized, again, now I'm being victim again. So I was playing victim before, now I'm victim again. This is why I tell you guys that life is a journey, it's not a destination. You will have pit stops, and this was my second pit stop. And then I literally snapped out and I said, this cannot be it. I refuse for life to be putting me on a headlock and me accepting to come out like this. There is no way. What did I decide to do? So what I decided to do is, at that time, I really liked the idea of creating content, and I wanted to create content. So I remember at the time I was doing like fitness content. I was just doing the gym. I was going to the gym because I started the gym because I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to spend money. I wanted to save money, etc. Then I started documenting, I started posting fitness stuff and so on and so forth. I believe that everything happens for a reason. If you made it this far, you watching this video is not a coincidence. A friend at the time, sent me a video. They said, you should do this video. It was basically about being a British Latino. And I kind of put my twist on it. I said, being a Chinese British Latino. And I remember recording this video at the time, and I sent it to my nephew. And I got a lot of love from my family, but what happened? So I sent it to him. I said, bro, I want to post this video. And he said, oh, bro, that is so cringe. Don't post that. Stop being a little cringe, whatever. And then what happens? My mind started to sort of self-sabotage and think, oh yeah, that's true. It is cringe. No matter what perspective you see it by. If you think it's cringe or you don't think it's cringe, the only thing that gets to you is yourself. Is that self-talk. If you allow it to get to you, it will get to you. And it was getting to me. I didn't want to post it. And then I said to myself, what do I have to lose? Like, I was so tired of just being a victim and not doing the things that I wanted to do that I said, you know what? I'm just going to post it and I do not care what anyone has to say. So at that moment, I was motivated. And in that moment of motivation, I took action. Bam. Posted the video, went to a CrossFit gym. At the time, I was doing CrossFit. I posted the video and then I'm going to the gym. I'm doing my warm-ups and then I'm just getting a lot of notifications. Like, what's this? I get the notification, I look, 10,000 views. Anyway, put it in, 60,000 views. I've been training 100,000 views, and at the time I had never gotten over like 10K views. And then I'm training, my head's just thinking about, oh my days, I'm getting all of these views, I'm getting all of these likes, I'm getting all of Then it hits like 300,000. Anyway, the night comes and I'm just super anxious. I get my first 1 million views and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, what is going on right now? Like, this is the first video that ever got 1 million views. Then I started to study content. Then I started studying how to go viral. And I started to go viral. I managed to get over 250,000 followers. And then I started to get all of this attention. And I lived for this attention. I love this attention. The only thing on my mind was, how can I get more of it? It was my drug. It was my vice. So all I had in my mind was, how can I be the most good looking? How can I get the most attention? I was just so focused on this that I had to make sure that my hair was perfect. I had to make sure that my body was the best that it could be. So in my head, I was in a constant competition of being the most good looking, being the most in shape. That the second I didn't feel like I was getting that validation from other people, I started to feel insecure. Everything I was doing was for the wrong reasons. Everything I was doing was for the validation of others, that I had no validation of self. Then this is when I started to feel very, very low. And this is an addiction. This is a vice. Many people have drinking problems. Many people have smoking problems. Many people have other vices. That was my vice. And then I realized that this had power over me. Then I went to Colombia. And I mentioned this on my post, if you guys saw my birthday post, that I met a man that changed my life. And how did it happen? And a lot of people have been asking me this. I went to Colombia, and at that time, I just felt very, very lost in life. I was like, what am I doing? Like, yeah, I'm getting all of this attention on social media. Yeah, it feels good, but that's it. It just felt very empty, and I felt very empty, and I felt like I wasn't doing anything with my life. And I met this man, and it was at the gym, funny enough. The gym is a funny place. So I met this man at the gym, and for some reason he wanted to talk to me. And I said, why do you want to talk to me? Let me just make sure my camera's recording. If you see that a lot, it's because I have to make sure, because I literally spoke for like 20 minutes more and it didn't record. And I said, why do you want to speak to me? And I said, I've got nothing to lose. I want to hear what he has to say. So I spoke to this, I went up to him, he said, listen, 5 o'clock, meet me at this hotel. And it's like one of the best hotels in Pereira. Met up with him. And I remember getting to the hotel like probably like 5 minutes early, and he said to me, I'm going to try to get you to the lobby I have upstairs. And I'll never forget this. We were having issues trying to sort it out because I wasn't staying at that hotel. And I remember he said to me, he's like, because you're a brokey, we can't go up there. I laugh about it to this day. Anyway, sat down, and for the first time ever, I let my mind loose. I let my mind think of things that I would have never have imagined. He helped me break all those limiting beliefs. He helped me believe in myself in ways that I could not imagine. This is the power of someone just believing in you. He made me realize, and he kept on mobbing. Until this day, we're very good friends. He showed me things that I never thought that I could do, and this is how you end up finding yourself doing uncomfortable things which you thought you can never do. But when you put yourself in the position to do them, you realize, actually, I could do that. No, it wasn't luck. I could do it. And sometimes those self-doubts and those self-sabotage thoughts are so crazy that amazing things that you do, you would think, it was luck, like it wasn't meant to happen. It happened by chance. That's how self-sabotaging my mind was. And time again, I built this proof. That's why I've done crazy things like running a marathon, running 10 marathons in 1 month, because I have proven to myself so many times that when this doubt comes in, I know it's not luck. I know that I can do so much because I have that proof. That is what confidence is. And he showed me how to truly find myself. And every single day now, that is my goal, to just find myself more and more and more. And during this process, your friends and your family, they're gonna think you're crazy, because during this madness, during this self-discovery, you're gonna feel like you're going mad. But the reality is that you are questioning everything that you thought that was true, and you're starting to find yourself with these questions. Because understand that you are just a construct of ideas and thoughts that were passed down onto you. Now the question is, who were they passed down from? Your parents, family, school, religion. Fine. But where was that passed down from? Who passed down that information to your parents? And this is something that I started to realize. And now, when I came back, where was I? I lost my train of thought. But now, I have made it very clear that my mission is to help people find the value in themselves that they cannot see. That's why now whenever I see excuses and I hear people complain about things that they can't do, it gets me to a point where I see you for who you can be, not for who you are. If my mentor in Colombia said to me, no, you can't do this, then I would have never been able to make that change. Because yeah, the situation that you're in, it might suck. Yeah, your excuses are valid, but do you want to stay there, and how does that serve you? Because you can blame everything else to feel better, but you can blame yourself to get better. And once you stop playing victim and actually start making changes, yeah, the truth hurts. And finding yourself is finding the truth. And the truth hurts very, very much, because most of the time you realize that the person at fault is yourself. The person that's going to stop you from achieving everything that you want is yourself. So this is why you need to understand and be very, very yourself in everything that you do. Sometimes things are not going to make sense. You are going to feel very demotivated and lost, but it's not meant to make sense. I could have never said to you, oh yeah, in September the Chinese government are going to send me a message to fly me over to China to win an award. Oh yeah, I'm going to have someone purchase my coaching from me, or I'm going to have someone invest in me, or I'm going to have this video go viral. No, you need to focus on things that you can control, and that's the only thing you can do, and that's where you're going to build your confidence. I'm going to make a whole video on that separately, but I just wanted to speak about a slight experience and just the reason I'm making this video and the reason I'm putting myself out there. And I know my mum and my family are probably like, oh, what is this guy doing? Because they're probably watching this video. Why are you just putting yourself out there like this, giving all of your information? You know how Latino parents are, just making sure this is recorded. The reason I do it is because ever since I started documenting, I've realized that I am not the only one that has gone through this situation, and I thought I was alone. I'm doing this video for every person that thinks that they're alone and realize that you are not the only person going through this situation. And I'm showing you that you can come out of the other side stronger. The only thing that's holding you back from moving forward, it is you. So I want you to understand that it is going to be hard. You being in that situation you don't like is going to be hard. But the pain of where you are has to be much greater than the pain for change. And that's what's going to help you to take action. If you don't know where to start now, start with becoming your best version. How do you become your best version? By gaining discipline. Start off small. This is how you build confidence. Say you're going to do something, then you end up doing it. Focus on yourself. What can you change now that's going to make you slightly better? Oh, I'm slightly nervous. Everything that you view as a problem, that is literally an opportunity for you to grow from. I feel nervous. Well, that's telling you to build your confidence. Oh, I don't know how to talk properly. That's teaching you to be able to go out there and practice speaking properly. Oh, I feel weak. Well, that's teaching you to be strong. These are all areas, these are all blessings that are right in front of you, but you choose to, that you cannot see. Why? Because everything is perspective, and this took me a long time to realize. This is why I'm doing this video for. This is why I'm exposing myself out there, because many people can use this against me, but guess what? I do not care. I've reached that point now, and I want you guys to do the same thing. So if you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate it. If you drop me down a little comment, let me know your thoughts. If you watch this video, give me a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe button, a subscribe, I don't even know what it's called. And if you guys need any help, just drop me a DM on Instagram at Suno_, if you're not following me. With that being said, love you guys. This is an unrevised version. This is just raw and it is late. I've had so much caffeine. Love you guys. Nos vemos, los quiero. Chao.